The day I opened my bank account, I forgot how to breathe. I refreshed the screen 3 times, convinced there had to be some kind of mistake. 6 years of 16-hour workdays, skipped vacations, canceled plans, and every dollar I had sacrificed to save was almost gone. I was still staring at the balance when my mother, Linda Walker, walked into the kitchen carrying her morning coffee. She glanced at my laptop, then looked at me with a calm smile that made my stomach turn. "Claire," she said casually, "Jason needed the money more than you. You'll make it back." My hands started shaking. In that moment, something inside me finally broke. I realized I had never been treated like a daughter. I was nothing more than the family's personal ATM, and my younger brother had been living a luxury lifestyle with every dollar I worked myself to exhaustion to earn. My name is Claire Walker. I'm 30 years old, and I live in Austin, Texas. For the past 6 years, my life had followed the same routine. I worked full-time as a senior accountant for a financial firm downtown. After dinner, while most people relaxed with family or watched TV, I logged into my laptop and spent another 4 or 5 hours doing freelance bookkeeping for small businesses across the country. I wasn't chasing a luxury lifestyle. I wasn't trying to become rich. I had one simple dream. I wanted to buy a small house with a front porch, a backyard, and a place that truly belonged to me. That's why I skipped expensive vacations. That's why I drove the same old Honda long after I could have afforded a newer car. That's why every bonus check and every extra paycheck went straight into my savings account. I believed every sacrifice was bringing me one step closer to my future. What I didn't know was that someone else had already decided how my future would be spent. That someone else was my younger brother, Jason Walker. Jason was 27 years old. He had never kept a job for more than a few months. Every time he quit, he had a different excuse. My boss was impossible. The work wasn't for me. I deserve something better. Yet somehow, Jason always had money. His Instagram looked like the life of a millionaire. One month, he was partying in Las Vegas. The next month, he was posting photos from Miami Beach. A few weeks later, he was showing off designer clothes, expensive watches, and VIP seats at sporting events. Everyone who followed him online assumed he was successful. Only I knew the truth. Jason wasn't paying for any of it. I was. One Friday evening, I pulled into my parents' driveway after work and immediately noticed a brand new black sports car parked in front of the house. Jason was standing beside it with a huge grin on his face. He tossed the keys into the air. "So, what do you think?" I walked around the car in disbelief. "This thing has to cost at least $80,000, I said. "How did you pay for it?" Jason laughed. "When your family's got your back, life works out." Before I could respond, my mother stepped outside. She didn't look nervous. She didn't even look guilty. She smiled as if she were sharing good news. "We had to move some money out of your savings account. Jason had an opportunity he couldn't pass up." I stared at her. "You what?" "We used some of your savings." "Without asking me?" My father, Robert Walker, looked up from the newspaper on the porch. "Claire, stop making such a big deal out of this. He's your brother. Families help each other." I looked at Jason. He wasn't embarrassed. He wasn't apologizing. He was admiring his reflection in the side window of his new car. That's when the truth finally hit me. This wasn't the first time. It couldn't have been. No one spends $80,000 like it's nothing. As I stood there watching my brother celebrate with money I had spent years earning, one question kept repeating in my head. If my hard work had always been funding Jason's dream life, did anyone in this family ever care about mine? That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, replaying the same question over and over. Was this really the first time, or had they been taking my money for years? At exactly 8 the next morning, I called my bank. After verifying my identity, the representative pulled up my account history. "Ms. Walker," she said politely, There have been several large withdrawals from your savings account over the last 3 years. My heart sank. I never approved those. There was a brief pause. According to our records, your mother, Linda Walker, has been listed as an authorized signer on this account. I froze. What? She was added several years ago. Suddenly, a memory came rushing back. When I was 22 and had just landed my first full-time job, my mom had handed me a stack of paperwork. "It's just in case of an emergency," she had said with a reassuring smile. "If something ever happens to you, Dad and I can help manage your account." I trusted her. I never read the paperwork. I just signed where she pointed. That single signature had become the key to everything I had worked for. I spent the rest of the morning downloading years of bank statements. The numbers told a story my family never expected me to read. $15,000, $12,000, $23,000, $9,000, again and again and again. Each withdrawal lined up almost perfectly with something new in Jason's life. The week he posted photos from a luxury resort in Miami, the month he bought a motorcycle, the weekend he celebrated his birthday in Las Vegas with a VIP suite. Every flashy picture on his social media suddenly had a price tag, my price tag. I felt sick, not because of the money, because every sacrifice I had made suddenly felt meaningless. I remembered skipping my best friend's destination wedding because I couldn't justify the expense. I remembered wearing the same winter coat for 5 years. I remembered turning down vacations, birthdays, and weekend trips because I was saving for my future. While I was sacrificing everything, Jason had been spending everything. That evening, I drove straight to my parents' house. For the first time in my life, I wasn't there to keep the peace. I was there to demand the truth. Dinner had just been served. No one spoke as I placed a thick stack of bank statements on the dining room table. My father frowned. "What's this?" I looked directly at my mother. "I know about every withdrawal." She barely glanced at the papers. Then she shrugged. "We did what we had to do." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You stole my savings." "No," she replied calmly. "We helped your brother." Jason leaned back in his chair with a smug grin. "Oh, come on, Claire. You make great money. You'll earn it all back." For years, I had swallowed every insult, every excuse, every unfair decision. Not this time. I looked straight at him. "And what have you earned?" The smile disappeared from his face. He stood up so quickly that his chair scraped across the floor. "You think you're better than me? I think I've spent my entire adult life paying for yours." The room fell silent. Then my father slammed his hand against the table. "That's enough. You've become selfish. Everything this family has done was to help your brother get ahead." I laughed. It wasn't because anything was funny. It was because, for the first time, I finally understood the truth. They didn't see Jason as the problem. They saw me as the solution. As long as I kept working, Jason never had to. I slowly stood up. "If that's really how you feel," I looked around the house I had grown up in, "then I don't belong here anymore." No one stopped me. Not my mother, not my father, not even Jason. I walked upstairs, packed one suitcase, grabbed my laptop, and carried my bags to the front door. As I reached for the handle, I waited. I honestly believed someone would say my name, someone would ask me to stay, someone would finally choose me. Instead, all I heard was the sound of Jason laughing at something on television. I walked out without looking back. For the first time in my life, I wasn't leaving my home. I was leaving the people who had never truly considered me family. But I had no idea that the biggest secret was still waiting for me, and when I uncovered it, everything my parents and Jason had built on my sacrifices would begin to collapse. Walking away from my parents' house was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But looking back, It was also the best decision of my life. The very next morning, I opened a brand new bank account at a different bank, removed every connection my parents had to my finances, froze my credit, and met with an attorney to make sure no one could ever access my money again. For the first time in years, every dollar I earned actually belonged to me. The first few months were lonely. I questioned myself more than once. Had I overreacted? Should I have stayed and tried to fix my family? Then I remembered the bank statements. I remembered my mother's words. Jason needed the money more than you. And every bit of doubt disappeared. I poured every ounce of my energy into my career. Within 2 years, I was promoted to financial director at my firm in Austin, Texas. A year later, I partnered with 2 former coworkers and launched my own financial consulting company. Business took off faster than any of us imagined. Companies trusted us. Clients recommended us. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was building the future I had dreamed about for years. Then, a rainy Thursday afternoon, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Claire, there are 3 people here asking to see you." I didn't schedule anyone. They say they're family. My heart skipped a beat. I looked through the glass wall of my office. There they were, my mother, my father, and Jason. But they looked nothing like I remembered. Jason's designer clothes were gone. His expensive watch had disappeared. The confidence that had once filled every room was replaced by exhaustion. Even my father looked 10 years older. I asked my assistant to let them in. No one spoke for nearly a minute. Finally, my father cleared his throat. "We need your help." I stayed silent. My mother looked down at her hands. Jason's business failed. He borrowed money from banks, credit cards, private lenders. He thought another big investment would fix everything. It didn't. Jason finally spoke. "I've lost everything. Our house is about to be foreclosed. We don't know what else to do." I looked at him carefully. This was the same brother who had laughed while spending my savings. Now he couldn't even look me in the eye. He quietly said, "I was wrong. I should have never taken advantage of you. I'm sorry." For a moment, I remembered every birthday I worked overtime, every vacation I canceled, every dream I postponed. Then I remembered something even more important. I had finally found peace, and I wasn't willing to lose it again. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out an old folder. Inside were the bank statements that had changed my life. I placed them on the table between us. "I keep these," I said calmly, "not because I want revenge, but because I never want to forget what happens when you confuse love with endless sacrifice." Tears filled my mother's eyes. "We made a terrible mistake. We should have protected you. We're so sorry." I believed they regretted what had happened, but regret couldn't erase years of betrayal. I looked at Jason. "You didn't lose everything today. You lost everything the day you believed someone else would always pay for your choices." Then I turned to my parents. "I don't hate you. I've spent too many years carrying that pain, but I won't finance this family ever again." Instead of writing them a check, I handed them the business card of a nonprofit financial counseling organization that helped families rebuild after severe debt. "If you're serious about changing, start here. But this time, you'll have to do the work yourselves." No one argued, no one begged. They quietly stood up and walked toward the door. Before leaving, Jason turned around. "I'm proud of you, Claire." Those were the words I had waited years to hear. Ironically, I no longer needed them. After they left, I stood by the window overlooking downtown Austin. 3 years ago, I thought losing my family meant losing everything. I couldn't have been more wrong. The day I stopped paying for everyone else's life, I finally started living my own. Sometimes people think justice means watching those who hurt you suffer. I learned something different. Real justice is building a life so full of peace, purpose, and self-respect that the people who took you for granted can never take anything from you again. And that was worth far more than every dollar I had ever lost.